everybody, I'm Bill Swinford.
And I'm Monica Daniels.
Welcome to another edition of Squared Up from the Swinford Media Group. We're glad to have you back with us.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
You know, we tried to do a podcast. We didn't talk about this because I'm not sure you even realize. We tried to shoot a podcast for you at the Cold World Series. Just the two of us tried to do our own thing.
Right.
We're useless without Tom.
We need Tom.
That
Tom
was
an important part.
Glad to know.
And wasn't, conducive to.
Yeah.
So that was the end of July. It's been a couple of weeks now since we even tried to do one, and we have reasons for that. You were on a little trip.
I was.
I went on an even shorter trip, and but then we've had a lot of other things going on. We'll talk about that as we go along. I wanted to start this morning by talking about the square.
Yeah.
And Tom, you were just on the square this morning. What do you think?
You know, it's really coming into shape. It is nice. You see what's going to happen, what's going to take place. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to get around right now, but I see how it's going to take shape, and it's really pedestrian friendly. That's what I like. And I think the traffic is better controlled, honestly, when I look at that.
Yeah, I like when I pulled up to your office, and they have now part of the parking area in front of your office is sectioned off, like your own little parking space. So it's super clear what area you're supposed to be driving on and what area is for parking. And I really like that. It feels,
it's kind of like four corner parking lots
safer.
Around the square. Yeah.
It does. It really feels safer, like pulling in and parking, and then when it's time to back out, that you're not going to get clipped by someone driving through the area, just, going around the roundabout.
So what they're working toward right now, and they've had the square closed overnight all this week, and this will continue for a little bit, in that they are basically chewing up the asphalt. They're chewing up the pavement around the square because they're going to be doing a whole new thing. And you've already seen it, as you mentioned. You've got these corner areas. Right now, it's a little bit of a bump up onto each corner of the square, but it kind of indicates that it's going to kind of be differentiated, the driving area and as Tom said, the driving area and the pedestrian area. And each corner where we park and where people will mostly be walking is going to have these kind of brick pavers, really nice, very pretty looking area. And that will be just so different than the roadway. And the roadway will just circle and have these outlets off onto each side, off the north-south market, east and west Main, along with, as we've talked about before, all of these new signals that will be at each crosswalk to make sure everybody is safe, lights up the crosswalk, make sure that traffic is stopping and letting pedestrians through. And it's already been turned into a true roundabout. That seems to be working very well. Traffic flows around there pretty easily, despite all the construction. And there is a lot of construction. But I think we're getting close.
Yeah.
And I know everybody that, like us, that offices on the square is excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to shape up really nice.
So if you're watching the video version of this, or if you will have seen some video that I shot describing some of that. And if you're listening, as so many of our followers listen to our podcast as they're driving and so on, maybe if you're driving around the square, you'll see it live as we talk about it. But if not, you can go see our version that's on YouTube, on the Swinford Media Group channel on YouTube. We'll continue to update you about that. Speaking of downtown, we've got an event coming up downtown, and we did talk about this, I think, on our last podcast. It was Freedom Sings. Our friend Martin Parsons is helping to pull this together for the city of Marion. It's going to be part of a Marion Stands for Veterans kind of day, or even like weekend, that is happening right around September 7th. And, of course, that ties in nicely with the Veterans on Parade that's been going on now. This is its 20th year. And so when Martin came and talked to us about it, we actually talked to him via remote. He told us a lot of the details, but there were a few things still being worked out. And one of those is that the big concert that concludes the Marion Stands with Veterans weekend is taking place on the square on the evening of Saturday, September 7th, starting at 6:30 p.m. So we didn't have a time on that last time. And at that, you will see these what they're calling Nashville hitmakers, songwriters based in Nashville who, or around Nashville, who have written songs for
veterans.
Well, okay, yeah, two things. They've written songs for veterans, and they've also written songs for some real hit makers, some popular artists, as we've talked about before, Rodney Atkins and Willie Nelson, and others of that. Have recorded some of these songs, but they will be coming specifically to write songs with 4 or 5 local veterans who are telling their stories, and then those songs will be performed at this concert.
Yeah, that's exciting. Somebody who writes songs for artists of that caliber, like Willie Nelson, to be in Marion writing songs for us and our community members. Yeah,
and then they will also at that event be performing some of their own songs that they've written. Steve Dean, who I think is one of the main guys for Freedom Sings, this organization that works with veterans and does these songs with them, wrote a song that was when Sam, my son Sam, who's now 26, just turned 26, when he was probably 8 years old, this was one of his favorite songs. It's Watching You.
Okay.
And it goes, I've been watching you, hey, ain't that cool, I'm your buckaroo, I want to be like you. It's like a son singing to his father. And
sweet.
It's actually a father singing about what his son said to him and making him realize how much he needs to step up every moment because he's being watched. Yeah. Everything he does is being watched by his son. And it's a great song. It was a #1 hit on the country charts, won awards, and I'm sure Steve will sing that for us when he comes to the square.
Also, are you going to sing with him? That's what I want to know. Are you sure?
After this, I might get that request. I'll be available, good. Steve. Maybe they'll just want me to sing it instead of him.
I mean, you do have your moments where you can really.
Was that one of them?
Sing well. That was one of them.
Are they moments? Is that what you're saying? They're moments, right?
Very momentary
if he has
moments.
Songs that he can just really nail it, and he's a good singer.
Ever down that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, at that event also, I was going to put this out there that Dave Fenley is going to perform. Dave Fenley was a finalist on the Voice.
Okay.
And he is one of the investors in the new microbrewery that's going into the former
City Hall. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, well, that's
so fun. It's Route 51 microbrewery. They're coming in, putting in. It's that company, and he's one of the investors in that. So he'll be there at this event performing. I'm sure if you don't know Dave Fenley, you'll probably recognize him because he had quite a national profile going, especially when he was on The Voice, and he's great. So don't miss out on this event. It's going to be on the square. You want to bring your lawn chairs, sitting around the square. It's hopefully going to be a beautiful night. I think they're going to put up jumbotrons. We've got a few big screens that can be used for this type of thing. It's going to be, they're going to absolutely close off the entire square for just this big public outdoor concert. I'm telling you, it's going to be cool. You heard it here first. So we'll keep telling you about that coming up on September 7th at 6:30 p.m. The morning of the 7th is Veterans on Parade. Also, don't want to miss. Okay, so just plan on being downtown Marion on September 7th. And while we're staying downtown, I was going to mention a new book that we're helping distribute. Have you seen one of these? I think I shared one.
Yeah, I actually have one.
Have you looked at it yet?
No.
Okay, well, let me tell you what it is. It's an interesting book. Some of us last year started, with the help of San Latuca at the Williamson County Historical Society, started putting together. Hey, thanks for being honest. Started putting together a downtown tours event that hasn't happened as of yet. But in the process, he was able to compile a little book about some of the downtown buildings and some of the history behind them. So it actually has a path. If you get one of these books, it actually has a little path you can follow, starting at what is now the Market Street Music Conservatory on North Market Street and continuing through the downtown around to the jail museum just off the square, and telling you different things that happen there. It's really interesting. Got some cool old pictures in there. It's just a little glossy book. It's bigger than a pamphlet, but just the right size, for most people, just to be able to flip through and see quickly without setting it aside and not reading it all.
Sold out of those books.
We did, yeah, we did, but we got some more. Actually, today we got some more in.
Okay.
So you can come to our office, pay $15, get one of those, or there's a couple other locations, including the jail museum that you can go to and get one of those. Okay, I'm just running through stuff because we got so much stuff today to run through. So don't miss out on that. Speaking of books, you got your book here with us.
I do.
You want to go ahead and get into that?
Sure, let's get into it.
We got a few more things to do after that,
Okay.
but I wanted to, we've been doing this book together.
You switched off your brain. It's solving the mystery of he said, she said. So, okay, so recently we've gone through a couple of chapters pretty quickly. We went through the one about the sight. The last thing we talked about is the differences in color, where men and women see color differently.
Right.
And also nonverbal communication is another thing.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could be like really triggering for some people.
I've got nothing to say about nonverbal communication.
Okay, yes. So nonverbal communication, more than words. That female babies and male babies even see differently, like where the female baby is going to be focused on the face and the male infant is going to be focused on moving objects. And then that also comes into play as we age, as we grow older. Women are more in tune with nonverbal cues potentially than men are. And and there's just this idea, like women can walk into a room and they know who's fighting, who is going through the motions, but they actually had a hard day.
Who's feeling good? Who's not feeling
Who's
good?
not feeling good?
Oh, she's wearing that because, or
Right.
she's yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Right.
subject.
You will do this. You'll say, I wonder what's the matter with him. What's the matter with her? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, there's a lot of play of nonverbal communication. So the author even mentions too, she's in a house where there's 3 daughters, a son, and a husband, and herself, and her and her daughters.
Sounds like my family right there. 3
right
daughters,
there.
a son. Yeah.
And it could be a thing where the 3 daughters are all fighting through nonverbal communication, and the son and the husband has no idea what's happening. They're just there and they have no clue that all of this nonverbal communication is going on between the women, and they don't even know about it.
No.
And
we don't want to know.
You just know that they're in a bad mood. You don't know what's going on in the room.
Right. So, and then there's...
I've actually experienced that. I really have. That's something I've known about.
And then there's that, and she said, for instance, she could be in a bad mood about something, and the daughters will all kind of take off, and then the son's just kind of hanging out, having no idea that maybe he should give mom some space. So then there's that too. So I think that kind of goes back into women being able to see in the details, and where men might have more of a big picture.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You talked a lot about what women are good at here, but what are we saying men are good at in this?
No, I think you read that
not
chapter,
that.
right?
Not at
something
that.
Something about fast-moving things.
Objects.
Okay.
Fast-moving objects.
So more about the fast moving. Something about we're
good at being able to identify cars as they go by.
There you go. Yeah. That's.
I think so. That puts men in a great position to be gear shifters. So, for instance, where women, and even though the female brain is larger in the aspect of this, and also processing emotions, so they can also get a little bit too toxic quicker because the area of their brain is larger, this capacity to pick up things. So women can also tend to get toxic quicker than men because of this, and that positions men to be really great gear shifters. So if a woman gets a little over fixated on details that could be unnecessary, that the man can step in and shift gears and help get things back on track with what is necessary.
But again, the key thing is don't say anything when you're doing it, right?
No,
Men shouldn't say anything.
Be sneaky about it.
Be sneaky about it. Is that the best thing we should do?
Yeah, I think. I think the key,
I'm speaking from experience. So.
I think the key
We don't have any idea.
thing needs to be humility. I mean, just if
True.
I'm going to take personally,
True.
and just being able on both the man and the male and the female parts to realize that this is complementary. Like, take a step back. Is this extra perception necessary for attention, or is it a distraction that needs to be let go of on both parts? Because it would be easy for the man just to kind of be like, oh, there she goes, just being extra again, and be too dismissive of what the woman is picking up.
Right.
And also the woman could be too dismissive of the man. There he goes, missing things that are very important, because it could work both ways. Like that extra perception is there for a reason. God gave it to us for a reason.
It's kind of like a man should probably say, honey, I think that's going to be okay. Let me help you with that.
Yeah, I can help with that, and for sure.
How about stop it? You're wearing me out. Is that a good thing?
No, that's not the one you should say.
Well, so she brought up something in the book that really made me think deep about this, because the thing is that she encourages men to let the woman air out everything, let the woman be completely verbal about all of the
I call it venting. That's the venting.
Yeah.
It's very important. It really is.
Let the woman vent. I have always been more tend to I want to be very considerate about where the person is at and not wear them out with a lot of unnecessary information that they may not want to hear.
Yeah,
so,
when we, let me just jump in here, because when we, and occasionally still today, but when we first started spending time together, you often would pause and ask me if I was bored.
Yeah.
You were very sensitive to the fact that and you were picking up some kind of nonverbal communication. However,
your eyes weren't glazed over. You didn't do that, did you?
I hope not. I hope you weren't picking up that I was bored, because I really wasn't. I mean, I find you very interesting, but you are very sensitive to what somebody else is experiencing when you're talking to them.
Right. And then so this is like one of our communications. I don't know if this is a classic male-female thing or if this is just a Bill and Monica thing. But then you would just basically come back with, okay, what, you think I'm a jerk that I'm going to just tune you out and be bored by you? I'm like, no, I don't think that you're being a jerk. I am trying to be sensitive to your area of interest, and I don't want to bore you with things that are boring topics to you, because I know you're going to be too considerate to be like, yeah, that's not something I really want to talk about.
I was going to say one thing.
Sense.
Yeah, I had to learn a little bit about this. I learned from my daughters. Especially my adult daughters, because when every once in a while they would call me and go to eat. So we would go to eat lunch or what have you, and I would sit down. I'm not kidding you. I'd say, hi, how are things going? And you know what? I never say a word for 25 to 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of it, they'll go, oh, thank you. I feel so good. It's so good. Aren't you glad we talked? And I'm like, I didn't say a word.
Yeah.
But I finally figured that out. It was like they had to vent.
Yeah.
And for my married daughters, it was usually about their husbands.
One thing, too, I learned through the book, too, about that. And then also it says here, because our brains are built differently, men can be a little bit slower to process information than women can be. And
true.
I had to learn
Bill's not processing it right now. Can you tell?
If Bill is slowly processing something, that maybe I start to get worried, oh, is he bored or ignoring me?
Or is he going to trip and hurt himself?
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
But now I just have to be like, okay, he's just slowly processing, and I just need to not worry about it.
So
that's good stuff.
Does that make sense?
That is good stuff. Yeah. Now I'm here to shift gears. But bottom line, before we get out of this topic, the question is that we need to conclude. Do you think I'm a jerk or not?
No.
Because that's okay.
I think you're a sweetheart.
Okay, thanks.
You're the best. You're the best person I know.
Oh no!
Oh, wow,
that is sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Except
ditto.
There are times he's not. Aren't we going to talk about one of those coming up? Is that coming up?
Are we going to talk about one of those? Do we have that on the? Do we have that on the plate today? Oh yes,
yes,
oh,
we do have that on the plate today.
We're not there yet. We got to work our way through that.
Well,
Thank you.
Okay.
You're the best person I know, except for when you're not.
Except for when I'm not. Well, that's okay. I'll take that. That's still better than I thought I would get. So speaking of a guy being in a room with a bunch of women and not knowing what to do, I enjoyed visiting your family.
Yeah. Speaking of, right. So I have some really high energy nieces.
So you went on this trip to.
I enjoy.
You went on this trip to North Carolina and Virginia to see your mother, stepfather, sisters, and nieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you went out there. You took your sons, and then I was able to fly out for a couple of days and meet them as well. And that was very enjoyable. And they are, yes, high energy.
They're really high energy. Yeah, they're a lot of fun and nonstop talking. And they do a lot of play fighting. They can be a bit combative.
It's a little scary.
And but yet there's just this feeling of really enjoying each other at the same time as being super combative with each other.
But I understand that I disappointed your youngest niece by not being who she thought I was.
My 8-year-old niece, Elizabeth, we call her Pookie for short, Elizabeth, when she first saw our picture together, she was super excited because Aunt Monica is dating Santa Claus. And she was so excited. And, and then come to find out.
That's a lot of pressure.
As far as
I didn't bring her a single gift.
No, you did not bring her any Christmas presents.
Should have wore a coat or something.
Yeah, I feel bad now, but she was great. All your nieces, all of your family is great. Your mom and everybody. I enjoyed getting to meet them and spend time with them, and we'll look forward to another visit with them soon. Yeah, go out and see them. I just want to make sure, because we have had so many things happen since our last visit. I'm looking at a copy of one of our papers that is hitting the streets for this week, and talks about, I don't want this to get away, because we did talk about Heron Fest. We had a Heron Fest podcast episode. Heron Fest turned out to be another financial success this year. Chris Trapani, the president of Heron Fest, reported this to us the other day. And we are just very pleased at the way this organization is run. They were able to net $87,000 from this year's festival, and what's especially impressive about that is that they had one whole day, Sunday, that was rained out by a storm, and so they had to shut down the carnival. They had to shut down the music event, and some of the other things that would have brought them a little bit more revenue in that day. Had to be shut down, and yet they were still able to net $87,000. Some of that money still is going to be going out to pay some obligations for Heron Fest, but they have already given away more than $60,000 of that $87,000 to organizations around the community that do a lot of good. And we've got that whole story in this week's editions of the Heron Independent and the Carterville Courier. Maybe in the Star too, I'm not sure, but check that out. It's impressive the way that year after year they're making sure that they're coming out ahead, they're not losing money, and then as a not-for-profit organization, they are giving that money away and serving the community with it. Good for them.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Also, I'm noticing in the paper this week we have an article on some of the expansion happening at John A. Logan College, and they are building out on the front of the building a new big lobby area that's going to change the whole front face of the building. It's 6,000 square foot addition renovation. That's just one of the things they're doing out there. But it's going to change the look of it. And for those watching, I'll throw up on the screen an architect's rendering of what the front of John A. Logan College will look like once they get that done. A whole article about that and several other things in the paper of interest. Pick one up wherever you pick up papers. Including our office on Tower Square. We have all copies of all of our papers in our office there. Okay, working our way through my notes. I think we've hit most of the things. Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Well,
you better come up with something. If not, I got something else.
Well, I mean, I could lead out with this.
Okay.
one of the things that, I think anybody who knows Bill now might need to be aware of, that if they happen to mention their childhood trauma to you, that you may surprisingly pull it out of your back of your van.
Hey, Tom, what time is it?
Howdy doody time.
It's howdy doody time. Yeah. Woohoo!
I hate puppets. So I'm in.
Hi, everybody.
We're driving over here today,
Hello.
and
Is this on?
I'm telling you about how, like, as a little girl, my experience with puppets are all kinds of commercials about how they suddenly come alive and
Yeah, we had to stop by the house, and so you were telling me this story.
Kill people, and become really creepy.
This never really happened.
Movies.
These are just movies.
I think even Fantasy Island had this little episode about how a ventriloquist doll came to life and did really creepy things.
Yeah.
And so that was my impression of puppets. More
Chucky.
So, as a child.
Howdy
Chucky,
doody. They kind of fall in the same,
But just like ventriloquist dolls. And then, so we get here, and then he's like, "Oh, hey, Monica, I need something in my bag."
Howdy's just
pull it out.
Howdy's just listening.
Like, why don't you look and see?
Howdy's
and then I
staring
open the
at you,
bag,
Monica.
And there's this ugly puppet looking at me.
Oh, that's rude.
Yeah.
Some of you are old enough to remember Howdy Doody, Buffalo Bob Smith and Howdy Doody. Howdy Doody was a hit in the 50s, 60s, maybe 40s, I don't know.
Right.
But mostly 50s. So if you're a child of the 50s, you'll remember Howdy Doody well. Howdy Doody came to my attention in the 70s. I'm not old enough to remember the original Howdy Doody show, but I got a record, is what I got. I got a record of Buffalo Bob Smith and Howdy Doody, and there was a clown named Clarabelle, I believe, and there's maybe potentially one or two other dolls that were in the mix, puppets that were in the mix. And this record taught you how to do ventriloquism. Yeah. And it didn't teach me how to do it very well because I never did get a grasp on it. But with the record, I got a Howdy Doody doll, and he's been my buddy ever since. He's one of the few things I have from my childhood.
Still has it, right?
Yeah.
Still important.
Yeah, he doesn't, none of my kids necessarily are crazy about the fact that I still have him either. He actually lives in the garage now. But Howdy is an old
Sophia
friend.
doesn't want him in her room.
No. And actually, when I think about it, if you were born in 1972, I think you and Howdy, or this Howdy, might be like exactly the same age. I think I was that young when I got Howdy Doody. Okay. Over the years, my mom, we had some, I think one of the dogs chewed up Howdy's boots, so my mom made him some new boots.
That's sweet. You have a very sweet mom.
Yeah, I do. And anyway, I'm sorry to hear that you have your own trauma tied in with ventriloquist dummies from your childhood. Yeah. But they aren't. There are some great ones out there. There's Howdy Doody. There's Charlie McCarthy. There's just a bunch of others that have never hurt anybody, really. And Howdy, I can tell Howdy really likes you. I mean, he likes you a lot.
Okay, go away.
Give Howdy a hug? No? Okay. All right. Well, we'll put Howdy away because it's creeping her out. Sorry. Hey, if you're listening, and not watching, you've just missed getting a look at Howdy Doody.
He's a fancy fella.
He is. Another reason to check out the video version of our podcast this go around.
Did you pick up that body language?
I did. I did get that. I figured that one out. I got that one, and so I'm going to shift gears into.
He was slow getting to it. If you notice, he was moving in on you there.
Yeah,
so it took a while.
Yeah.
Can we take a potty break?
Hey, everybody, we're going to take a potty break.
I don't know.
Right?
I guess it's okay.
I was getting ready to sign off.
I have to pee so bad.
Yeah, but I was going to say, we're going to say goodbye.
I just went through this water.
Did I ever tell you my story of interviewing Amy Grant?
Have you ever had this happen to you when you've been recording something?
I had this happen.
Or even, I think you told me a story about when you were live on the radio.
Live on the radio. I'll tell you the story. Since we have a moment. We're waiting on Monica.
Who knows how long this will take?
I was on the air 1983, 84 in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was interviewing Amy Grant. And we were talking away, doing this great interview. We were on the air live.
Yeah.
And in the middle of that, Amy just ups and says, "Hey, Tom, can you hang on a moment? I got to go pee." I'm on the air. So we start talking about that. And I didn't know what to say after that, so I just started talking about her concert coming
right,
up.
Left all alone. You're just talking
but that
to
went
yourself.
on for a minute or two. I had to do that myself. Then she comes back and literally she says, well, that's great. Everything turned out okay. Everything came out okay. That's what she said. And she came back on the air with that. And I had that whole time. That was my moment when somebody just kind of in the middle of the interview kind of walked off. Did you
I
go to the bathroom?
Did she know before you went off that you?
No, I never told her. She thought we were recording the whole thing. I've never said anything.
Well, welcome back.
Yeah.
Hey, we've been rolling this whole time.
What happened?
And well, I'll tell you that we won't make everybody else listen to the story again, but it's a great story that Tom had to tell while you were gone. You were pretty quick, all things considered. Hey, everybody, that's all we got for today. Hope everything is okay with you.
Is that really all we have?
That's all we have.
Okay.
I was getting ready to sign off, and then you just ran out on us. So we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Thanks for watching, and
it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, and we've learned a lot today, right?
We have.
Yeah, and we have a lot to forgive and a lot to forget. We'll be back soon with more for you right here.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
On Squared Up.
All right,
hey, Tom Mann, thanks for making it all happen as usual.
Absolutely.
It was fun. Thanks for the Amy Grant story.
Yeah, this good one, wasn't it?
Kill time that we didn't know we were going to have to kill. Bye, everybody.
Bye. What?
We've left it in the podcast. It's awesome.
You did not.
We did. That was great.